Hello and welcome to Stuck in the Elevator Pitch. We're the two dudes and we like to talk, so the only way that we can elevator pitch is when we get stuck in it. For this episode, you'll need to queue up outside the hot, sweaty metal box of this podcast as we pitch to you our brand new Doctor Who theme park.
We got stuck again.
We got stuck yet again in this same lift.
We should really learn, shouldn't we?
We should learn. But again, good thing we've brought our podcasting equipment. We're ready to go.
Yeah.
But this week, I have something I want to tell you. You know, I haven't spent much time preparing this. I'm just thinking it up as I go along.
Okay, if you say so.
I definitely haven't spent hours painstakingly trying to equivocate what this would actually look like.
Equivocate,
No,
that's a big word for you.
it's a big word for me, indeed it is, because I can barely spell a 5-letter word. But what's important this week is I have a really good idea for a Doctor Who theme park.
All right.
And I think you're going to like it. So what I thought we can do is we'll spitball a bit, go back and forth, and when we leave these doors, we're actually, for those of you that don't know, we're in the BBC offices. We're going to go straight and pitch it. So I'm going to get you up to speed.
Okay.
I'm going to get the audience up to speed, and then we'll back and forth a bit, and then we'll go and make this happen. Okay?
Makes sense.
This is going to be a success. So we all know theme parks. We've seen them everywhere at the moment. We've got Disneyland, you've got Universal Studios, you've got Hollywood Studios, all those sort of things. Mm-hmm. We've got, specifically though, what's sort of happening more and more is you're getting these lands built around specific pop culture things.
Yeah.
So you've got the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Diagon Alley.
Got Galaxy's Edge.
You've got Galaxy's Edge. You've got Nintendo Land.
The Avengers Campus is now coming as well.
Yeah. So we thought, how cool would it be? Or I thought, sorry, again, I've just come up with this just now. How cool would it be to do a Doctor Who one, given the potential I believe it has? There's supposedly, I think it's called London Resort, some sort of BBC, Paramount, UK-driven Disneyland.
Is this kind of like the same level of quality as the UK-driven streaming service of BritBox?
Probably, which doesn't give me much hope. But if you put a Doctor Who land in it, again, just like the only draw of BritBox being classic Doctor Who, the only draw of this new theme park will be a Doctor Who theme park land. Yeah. So, the thing we have to start with is, what's the point? What's the vision of this theme park?
Right.
And I want to create an experience that builds on all the other sorts of experience we've had. We've had, especially with me growing up in the time where the show was sort of booming during the RTD era. You had museums and exhibitions, and we've just sort of seen escape rooms coming up and a live experience. I want to build on all of those ideas and create sort of the ultimate Doctor Who experience that also appeals to the casual fan. I think that's really important. This isn't just something that only fans of the show will find cool.
That makes sense, because I think one of the things that I kind of regret a little bit is we got very close, me and my mum did, to going to the Doctor Who experience, I think it was called, in Cardiff at the time. Mm-hmm. And we were so close, and it was that kind of thing of, this was our only way of experiencing in person this thing that my mum grew up with, obviously in her era, and I then grew up with when I was a kid. We were like, we both really wanted to see it, but there was no other way of doing it, and of course that ended up closing down. So I think there's definitely a gap in the market, I think, for that opportunity, for especially once we come out of COVID, for BBC to really capitalise on people wanting to go somewhere, wanting to go to a place. And what a better way to do it than go to somewhere that maybe some people have found solace in COVID.
Yeah, I think one of the important things about this is this in a way replaces everything else. I want this to be the hub of Doctor Who in the UK. Wherever you build it, I want this to be the place to go. So if there's escape rooms, we're going to build them here. Mm-hmm. If there's an exhibition, we're going to build it here. And you'll see the way I've sort of weaved in those sorts of ideas. So you walk into the park, and what do you see? Well, you see unit headquarters.
Cool.
Now, not just unit headquarters. Unit headquarters and Earth is under attack.
Oh.
So while there is lots of office buildings and warehouses, the point of those, for those of you that aren't aware of sort of the way theme parks works, they're all just to hide the rides.
Yeah.
So we build these giant warehouses, these fake office building looking things. So inside we can have this really cool, elaborate ride.
Mm-hmm.
But around that is also these alien spaceships, mainly the centerpiece being this crashed, one crashed and one flying Dalek ship.
Cool.
And I'd quite like to try and do the spaceships in the way the Avatar land is built, whether it has sort of anti-grav construction, which basically means there's steel bars that look like they're not steel bars.
Yeah.
So it was all stood up, but it just kind of looks like it's floating.
I get that. Because
Trying to find a way to do that.
Yeah, because like one of the things when you first said unit headquarters and you were talking about the office buildings, I think I did get that. It's not very aesthetically pleasing to the eye, and it's not very attention grabbing. You're gonna kind of walk in there, and I think it's actually a criticism a few people have for things like Legoland is that because of the age, it kind of just looks grubby, and that could very easily fall in that same hands. But actually, as soon as you then went, but it's under attack, I was okay. I can see it. I can see the people who are going to be dressed around as various monsters. I can imagine. I can see the architecture being a lot more vibrant with colours either of spaceships and stuff like that, and using the ordinary and the extraordinary quite literally to sort of like create this visual aesthetic that's very Doctor Who.
Yes. And I think it's just really important, the idea that it is this sort of warehouse office building, because like you said with the grubbiness, I want to build a theme park, but when it gets older and they're not cleaning it as much, we're not scrubbing down all these buildings, it won't look weird, it'll just look like a worn out office building. Mm-hmm. And I think that would make it sort of, obviously in a way that Nintendo Land, unless they're scrubbing that thing every day, it's going to start to
age,
wear down and look a bit crap, for want of better words, in about 5 years' time.
Yeah.
So, the other thing important is I want to narratively link this.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, yeah.
And I want all the rides, this event that's happening around Unit HQ to make sense. And what's also really important to me as a Doctor Who fan is knowing that if you make something about the current Doctor Who, all that happens is in a year's time, 2 years' time, 5 years' time, you have to just do it all over again because you've got a new TARDIS, you've got a new Doctor.
Yeah.
And I've thought about all of that when coming up with this idea, and I'm really, really happy with how it will pan out and work amongst
and that's important,
different Doctors.
Because I think one of the things that is vital to how Doctor Who works is that almost it's timeless, and that's not a play on the current, arc of the Timeless Child. It is timeless. It's this idea of you can go back, and I remember when I first started getting into Doctor Who, obviously it was Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor at the time. I wanted to know more. I went back and watched Tom Baker, and I was like, yeah, this is still the Doctor Who that I know. Even though I've only just been introduced to it, I still see it. It still plays well. But also, it's not about the action. And I think in recent years in actual Doctor Who, a lot of people have been going, the special effects aren't great and stuff like that. And it's not about that. It's never been about that. It's always about the story. And I think if you can underpin everything in this whole park as a story, I think that's really important. But I do also want to say, you've kind of touched upon there as well what I worry about with, and maybe this is the reason why they've done it, but with the likes of Galaxy's Edge and the Avengers Campus, is that there's a narrative there that's very in time with when it was built. Yeah. So like Galaxy's Edge was built at the around time of the Resistance, and so in 10, 15 years' time, what are they going to do when something else comes up? Or Avengers Campus is the start of the Avengers, and it's Tony Stark, and it's Doctor Strange is going to be in it and stuff, and you sort of go, well, yeah, but what are you going to have to revamp everything? Now Disney, of course, have the money for that, but I think it's a more difficult and infinitely better task if you make it so that you don't have to revamp it every time. Yeah. You can add things to it, but you don't have to reinvent the entire park.
That's the thing, is that there are specific points, and when I get to them, where the revamp will happen, and it will be easy to see. So, what's our story? Why have all the Doctors and all the Doctor's greatest enemies come together at a time like this? Because it's about the Pandorica Alliance.
Yay!
The reformation of this idea that all the villains come together because the Doctor is their greatest enemy.
Yeah.
And it will be a moment of convergence, in a way. This is where we're at in the theme park, where multiple versions of the Doctor, they all are defending the world against different villains and different enemies. And each visitor will have the chance to meet a multitude of Doctors and a multitude of Doctor's enemies.
Cool.
The staff throughout the overworld, so apart from if I say they'd be dressed as something else, basically they're all dressed in unit uniform.
Okay, makes
so
sense.
the people taking your tickets, letting you in, all that sort of thing.
Yep.
Unit, red berets, we're going for it. And around the campus itself, there will just be TARDISes.
Okay, cool.
Sort of like model box TARDISes.
So you
that
can't
can
go
just
in
take
them.
photos with.
Yeah.
So you can't go in them, which I considered, but it just becomes...
Well,
they're not
you
big
ruin
spaces.
the illusion, yeah.
No, you can have them up against a wall sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they're just not big enough spaces to easily have a flow of people, because obviously all people want to do is take photos. But
Well, of
don't worry, I
course.
thought of that. So they're just exterior boxes, but you can go and take yourself with. So we've got the first all the way to the current series TARDISes dotted around, and it could be sort of like an Easter egg hunt where you've got to collect every different Doctor's
Cool.
TARDIS, or however many we put in.
Is that one of the things that you can add to? So, of course, the more Doctors we get, the more people appear, and so you can add new villains, you can add new bits and pieces just to...
You can easily just plonk another box down somewhere, and it doesn't change anything.
Nice.
You just have to print some new things where kids are ticking it off. So another centre point of this land will be a hotel.
Cool.
And there's only one theme I could think of for this hotel, which I feel captures the very essence of Doctor Who and captures what people want when they come to Doctor Who land.
Go on then.
So originally called
I think I know what this is going to be.
the TARDIS.
Yeah, there you go.
But not the TARDIS as we know it.
Okay.
This is tentatively titled, a name I'm quite actually happy with, the Time Shift TARDIS.
Ooh.
So this is a hotel that is a mash of TARDISes all throughout history. So thinking of basically imagine you go to book a room in this hotel, and like you can, I believe, from what I've looked at, you can book like a family room is the 13 Doctor's TARDIS, or a couple's room is the 10th Doctor's TARDIS, and all the decor in that room is themed around different Doctor's TARDISes, so you can sort of choose which Doctor you experience. But don't worry, if you can only have one sort of room, all the corridors will be different Doctor's TARDISes.
I love that.
So it's as if you could be walking down one corridor, and for now it's 13, and then it becomes 11's corridor, and then it becomes 12 corridor, and you're sort of walking through the different bits. And obviously there would be Easter eggs hidden around of like different parts of obviously we've seen some of 11.
We know that
12's
11
corridors.
had a swimming pool somewhere, sort of thing.
Yeah, which brings me on to my next idea, which is there would be special rooms in this hotel. This wouldn't just be a bedroom hotel. There would be a swimming pool, because I think what we all really want to see is the TARDIS swimming pool.
Yeah.
But there would also be extra areas, so a library.
Yeah.
Which would be a smallish room, but would look like it extends upwards sort of infinitely with like spiral stairs.
Oh, like you could do a mirror and the LED lights and the sort of thing. You can have like endless coffee tables that they have that sort of optical illusion. Yeah,
that's what I pay the designers for. And that could literally just be a shop of Doctor Who books.
I was going to say, so what are you going to have in there? Are you going to have Doctor Who books, as in like the ones that you can get, like the literature novels, or are you going to have like his adventures, or are you going to have in-world books as well, say like River Song's Diary sort of thing?
All of them. Just Doctor Who theme. I wanted to be like, well, what if we have it like all the books are about aliens and stuff like this, but also that's just a bit stupid, because that's dumb. So it's just Doctor Who books.
Cool.
I need to convince the BBC this will make money. If you put Doctor Who books in a Doctor Who hotel, people will buy the books.
Oh, 100%.
And another area, and I would like more of this sort of idea in the hotel somewhere, is a wardrobe. obviously the doctor's always talking about the wardrobe they've got, but in this wardrobe you'd have on display, like on hangers or something, not on mannequins, but on hangers, all the doctor's costumes. So just like you can when you go to all these experiences and exhibitions, see all the costumes, you'd be able to see them in this wardrobe again. You just bung the new one on as soon as there's a new one. You just put it up there. You could have companion costumes as well, and they're just little. It's just a little room that you can just look at. There's nothing special or like purchasable or exciting or interactive. They're just things that you would expect in a TARDIS.
Yeah, 100%.
The next thing being I sort of skipped over, but it's very important, is the lobby.
Okay.
Well, whose TARDIS do we make the lobby? Because we've already talked about this. If you make it the current Doctor's, as soon as 5 years knocks down the line, you've got to change it all again. We can't change a hotel lobby. And the idea is we design a brand new TARDIS interior, inspired by ideas of the past. The roundels will, of course, make an appearance.
Yeah, because kind of like how we saw... Was it Clara's like diner or something like that?
Yes, was a TARDIS.
Yeah, that was a TARDIS. That sort of thing of just like everything's inspired by something. I think in that episode you saw the Doctor bring back, as you say, those round, the round parts on the walls and stuff, and have it designed so every bit's like a homage to something else.
Yes, but I'm thinking much more, for those of you that understand this reference, the 8th Doctor's TARDIS, which was this dimly lit, sprawling room, and I can kind of just imagine you extend that by, you have circular balconies and staircases all around. The console itself is the reception desk. It's a circular reception desk. And that's where that's the console.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the console, you can see it, but it's just out of reach. That's only touchable by the reception. Obviously, they're not going to do anything with it. And I thought maybe you could actually turn it into a very cool lit up water feature.
Cool.
So something just right down the middle of a room is this sort of glowing thing. Maybe get something moving, but basically something that looks visually really, really cool. And again, something that can only be experienced at Miss Park and has never been seen before. That's key.
Can I ask?
And I would love if somewhere down the line where we have all these TARDIS cameos, if it could just appear, if that makes sense.
That'd be cool. Yeah. So can I ask a question?
Yes.
Staff at the hotel. What are your thoughts?
Staff at the hotel are a unit officers, because again they're helping out with the Doctor's mission. Sort of.
Okay. So in story, this is where I kind of get narrative based with you. Okay, so in story,
I bet you do. Go on.
So I'll ask in terms of what the visitors are doing later, but I'm talking in story. Why are these staff? Why is this TARDIS here? Why are these staff there? Why are they looking after it?
Because you'll see where the Doctors are.
Okay.
This isn't any one Doctor's TARDIS. This is sort of, because all the TARDISes are in the same place.
It's almost like a paradox.
This sort of has happened, and the unit staff are using it as sort of a base of operations because it's infinite.
And because it's protected from everything else that's around it, like the TARDIS always is. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Also, because they need to wear something, so stop being annoying.
No, I just
Stop
didn't know if
ruining
you were
my
gonna.
fun.
I didn't know if you were gonna.
It's such a good idea.
I didn't know if they were gonna be Time Lords or if they were gonna be, I don't know, anything like that.
They could be, but I think that's cruel and unusual punishment to make someone wear those stupid clothes. So instead, I'll make them unit people. Okay, so other things, before we get to the rides, before we get to what people are here for, I just want to touch on a couple of other ideas I've got. So talking of the spaceships in the sky, one of the ideas I had was, well, what if a restaurant's a spaceship in the sky?
So like the, what's it called? Sky Cafe, is it in Canada?
Don't know. But what if a restaurant is the Orient Express?
Oh.
So maybe sticking out of one of the office buildings is the Orient Express in space, and you sit atop and you can look over the theme park.
That'd be cool.
From that, and it's sort of this, but once you step inside it, it is a 1920s fine dining experience.
Oh, yeah.
It's not run by unit, it's run by
the people who
1920s looking staff.
Yeah.
You can get dressed up for it. And I thought, well, that's the theme. That's the theme for the restaurants in this. It's just out of place, time displaced restaurants.
Yeah.
The food can be whatever, but it's just because it's space food, so we can jazz it up a bit like that. But it's this idea of out of space, giving you that chance to dress up and go to history, experience history.
Okay.
Another thing really important, the gift shop.
Yep.
I thought there's only real one way of doing this, because how do you fit a gift shop in universe? Well, obviously it's Osgood's gift shop, selling replicas and merch based on the Doctor's adventures throughout time and space, a memento of your time helping out the Doctor, as designed by Osgood.
Yeah,
and obviously you'd have some unique merch. I'd quite like to sell some sort of custom thing. So in lots of the parks at the moment there's this interactive sort of idea. So in Harry Potter there's a wand, in Nintendo Land you can get this sort of bracelet. I thought maybe there's a unique sonic screwdriver.
I was going to say, you build your sonic screwdriver sort of thing.
No, not a build, because that's Star Wars and it's dumb and I hate the idea of it. Not for Star Wars, for Doctor Who. There is one sonic screwdriver design that's different than what's in the show.
Okay.
And that's the one everyone sort of has on campus, and it's again, you might call it the time shift sonic screwdriver.
That makes sense.
But I don't like that idea of building one. I hate when they make toys that like make a sonic screwdriver because they never look good. I'd rather just let's create one that looks really cool and then give it to people.
Okay, so at the moment, on a sort of like recap of everything, I'm getting very much, I can't remember what the episode's called, but when River Song breaks time by not killing the Doctor.
Ooh,
I'm getting very much that kind of vibe. I'm getting obviously Day of the Doctor kind of vibes with the different Doctors there and the time shift side of things. I'm getting obviously Pandorica opens vibes. But the question I have in my mind, and I know you're probably going to go into it, is not only why are we here, but how did this happen?
So that will play out across the different sort of episodes. The sort of idea of what's happened. It's less about what happened and how we got to this point. It's more just about how are we going to stop the villains and save the day. And it's not all about stopping them. Sometimes it's just experiencing the invasion. There's not a conclusion. There's not a we save the day, because obviously this event is happening indefinitely. Yeah. One thing that I thought could be really cool on that sort of line though is having individual stories. So maybe when, let's say we know, or it's rumoured at least, spoilers potentially for Series 13 if you don't want to hear it, so skip 10 seconds, but potentially there's Sontarans in Series 13, so there could be a sort of event featuring that villain that takes place for 6 months. And it's a ride or it's some sort of experience you can do, but it only lasts 6 months, and then we move on to there's nothing for a few months and there's a new thing. Something like a draw, like they do Christmas events or Halloween events.
Yes, I think that's the best. I think that's the best way of doing it. I think little miniature stories inside. You mentioned a second ago. You referred to them as like episodes, which I'm imagining is how you're almost seeing the singular ride / experiences, stuff like that. I think inside of those, it would be, because I'm trying to think of, okay, I'm putting producer hat on, replay value, why would someone return? I think events are a very good way of doing that, but I think inside each of these episodes sort of thing, there should be a beginning, middle, end, conclusion of a story, not of the event, but maybe of characters, of people you join along the rides that can be swapped in and out throughout a year. So say you've got one ride, say, okay, take the Orient Express for an example. You could have a Murder on the Orient Express event that happens at some point. But when that's not on, you could almost have little, almost flash mob kind of scenes that are seemingly random for the audience, but are timed, obviously, and scheduled in the planning of it. But they go, okay, so we're going to make it so this little flash mob of a scene of an event happens here. So this viewer can turn up at the Orient Express and somehow, on random chance, they could turn up one day and then the next and have a completely different experience. And it brings them back to it each time.
So something that I think would be really cool and is really I think a frustrating but an important part of these sort of theme park ideas is I will call it the Riddler trophy ideology, which is, so if anyone's played the Batman Arkham games, there's a little awful experience that you have to do if you try and complete them, which is you have to go and find all these darn Riddler trophies around the city, and it's virtually impossible to do on your own because there are so many. So you look them up, some of them at least.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that you have to create a log, a database, whether it be official or unofficial, but a database of all the things that are happening.
Yeah.
That people have to access separately. So you could go through and not look anything up and just sort of run into these events.
Yeah.
But there is a place where you can find out, oh, check here at this time and something might happen. Yeah. Check here at this time and something else might happen. And clues from characters within the universe, like, oh, I saw the Doctor running that way. Yeah. Maybe you should see what's going on over there, and they sort of send you off.
Or you see like a piece of unit document on a table somewhere that says something.
Yes, less precise than that.
Yeah,
that's a bit specific. You have to
I'm just
pick
thinking
up
really
a piece
minute
of paper.
clues.
But yeah, ideas like that, bits of graffiti on a wall, maybe.
The same way as you would if you were building a show and you wanted to foreshadow things.
Yes, I like the Easter egg idea, especially in something like this sprawling story.
Yeah.
So, what's the main events? What are the attractions that are going to bring people here? I want to start with the most boring, if you will, which is the idea of the Black Archive, which we know is part of UNIT, which houses all these things. I want to turn that into an escape room.
Cool. That
skin can change dependent on what monster or villain we want to focus on or idea we want to talk about.
Okay.
So it's a big warehouse. There's lots of the same room. They're all the same. It's one sort of thing. So you're not trying to check off 10 different escape rooms on your visit. There's just one.
Yeah.
But that will change maybe every 6 months to be something different.
Yeah. So just quickly, for those people who don't know, do you want to just explain a little bit about the Black Archive and what's kind of housed inside of it?
So the Black Archive is UNIT's sort of archive, for want of a better word. It's basically a big physical database of artifacts and documents and information about the Doctor and also alien incursion on the planet.
This is where the Saigon inversion speech all happened. This is where the staff outside get their memory wiped each time, isn't it?
Yes, so they get their memory wiped so they don't even know what's in there. The Day of the Doctor also features the Black Archive. That was its sort of reintroduction. I believe it first appeared in the Sarah Jane Adventures. I believe that was its first appearance. And then it since reappeared in the main show. I just think you just have lots of artifacts around the room.
Yeah.
It would again build up on that story, more information about how to stop the villains, what they do, what they're doing, what they want. And I think the centerpiece of each room should be some sort of Pandorica box.
Okay.
That you have to maybe open or close, and that's the sort of target.
Right.
If that makes sense. You have to use what you know to try and open that or close it. Cool. Whichever way. I think close it, because open it, there shouldn't be anything in there really. So maybe you have to close it so no one else can get in and put anyone in.
Yeah.
So you're trying to protect people. That's that. That would just be like called the Pandorica Vault or something like that, or the Black Archive.
Black Archive, yeah.
But you can change, even though the theming might be the same. Every time maybe you have to close the Pandorica, but maybe the clues and stuff change every so often, so it does give people that reason to return.
Yeah, sounds good.
The next ride I want to talk about, again, a bit boring. Escape from the Daleks.
Oh.
So I want to take them up to the Dalek ship that you see in the sky.
Nice.
I want to put you in a little weird Dalek pod. If those of you who have seen Galaxy's Edge, for like little Star Wars thing, and you each get a little turret, and you're basically flying through space, projection, drop, little mechanics, whatever you want to call them, drop mechanics, fly mechanics, and you're just flying through space shooting Dalek ships out of the sky. The plot is you're a hostage on the Dalek ship. You've stolen one of their ships, and you're on the run, and you're basically trying to get back to Earth.
Okay. So,
yes.
on those first two,
yes,
there is an obvious need for explanation in
Yes.
world. Okay,
Yes.
so
All the explanation is the queue. So the queue will take you through whether it be
yeah,
the
okay.
Pandorica Vault, which obviously requires more detailed explanation of how an escape room works.
Yeah.
Would be a person or a video talking, explaining it.
So this is my question to you: are we
Yeah.
going to see any appearances from the Doctor of the Time?
Slow down. Slow down. Not for these two. These two aren't.
That's
about
what I was
that.
asking. In these two, for this explanation, are we seeing, like, are they just
Not
getting unit
necessarily.
explained, or
I feel it would be really, again, this is a difficult thing. It would be real fun to see people like other unit people, so maybe Luke Smith or
Yeah.
Martha Jones potentially explaining these things, but potentially just unit people, and maybe rather than having a video do it, you get a unit soldier to come
Yeah.
out and do it. Something more a bit more engaging, but obviously videos are cheaper, for want of a better word.
so?
Escape from the Daleks would work less so of a video, more like a story. You go on this journey, your route to it shows you that you've been captured.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a Dalek coming in behind you every so often on like a
Yeah.
little track, so you sort of know you're being
Yeah.
forced towards it. Those sorts of ideas. I would love some animatronic Daleks because it would be so easy to do.
Yeah. So, one question I've not asked yet, and I think it's now important to sort of ask it. The audiences, the visitors, whatever you want to call them, their role in this, are they innocent bystanders? Are they like new unit recruits? Are they...
They're here to help the Doctor.
So they're companions, basically.
Yes, so in a way, they're companions, but they're more just humans trying to help. You never really have the sort of direct companion experience
Because the thing I'd say is...
other than one place. that I
Yeah,
haven't got
because
to yet.
I think the thing I'd say is if you compare it to the likes of, and I think we talk about them quite a lot because I think they're the ones that are at the forefront of expertise in this sort of area. So you've got Harry Potter Land, Galaxy's Edge, and the Avengers Campus. The Avengers Campus, you're becoming a superhero. The Galaxy's Edge, you're a resistance soldier, and the Harry Potter world, you're a new learning wizard. All of these things, they bring you into the story, and their in-world makes sense. If that makes sense, I feel if they, by calling them by calling audience members companions, it gives them almost this. Look, let's face it. Anyone who's a fan of Doctor Who has once in their life dreamt either of being the Doctor or of being a companion. So if you turn around and go, "Oh, you must be the new companions," it will automatically make the audience go, "Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm actually able to be the companions. That's so cool."
All right, okay, fine, they're companions. It wasn't that important, but all right. You've made a good argument as to why they need to be considered companions. So I agree. Okay, there are 2 more rides left, but I want to talk about the flagship one first. Because
Okay.
you've been asking some questions in relation to it. So we've seen Galaxy's Edge. We know in Galaxy's Edge, the flagship sort of ride of Galaxy's Edge, if you will, is the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
You get to sit in and pilot the Millennium Falcon in flight. So what do you have to do if it's the TARDIS? If it's Doctor Who, you have to pilot the TARDIS.
Yeah.
You have to meet
Kind
the
of
Doctor.
spoiled the lead at the start
and
there,
you
but I
have
get what you
to-
mean.
You have to pilot the TARDIS. But this is no ordinary ride. This is not a Galaxy's Edge skin.
Okay.
This is its own unique idea. So, you queue up, you set foot into the TARDIS. Whose TARDIS it'll be, you don't know.
Ooh.
One of the things that people might not know about Galaxy's Edge is the way the ride operates. I watched this in some documentary somewhere. Maybe the Imagineering story on Disney Plus. The ride is actually, I think it's 4 or 6 pods. So the cockpit, there's actually just 4 of them.
Oh, right.
So when you go and queue up, there's more people in the ride than it looks like. So there's not
right.
one cockpit in that giant Millennium Falcon. Because obviously you don't need the rest of the Millennium Falcon. You only have the cockpit.
No, yeah.
So there's like 4 and they rotate.
Oh.
So people can get in and out. which is exactly how the TARDIS mechanic will work here. So you don't know which TARDIS you're going to be in, which Doctor you're going to see.
Cool.
There are 4 different TARDISes, being whoever the most recent one is, so at the moment 13 and Jodie. Mm-hmm. But you've also got one like David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi. Basically, the crux of who you've got is who will come back and record dialogue.
Cool.
And film themselves in costume, taking you on this tour, because that is the point of this ride. It's very important that whoever's TARDIS you're in, that's the Doctor meeting you.
Yeah.
I'd love to get some classic era Doctors in.
Yeah.
I just don't think they have the appeal in the same way that the new series ones do.
You should get the first Doctor and have what's his name? The guy who played the first Doctor in
David Bradley.
David Bradley. You get him come back and do it. That'd be quite cool.
You could. Again, it's just about choice, because you can only have so many.
Yeah.
And again, this would be where the new Doctor is added when there's a new Doctor. Mm-hmm. You just rip out one of the old ones, swap it for a new one. Mm-hmm. And it works as simply as that room is all you've got to change. And the ride works exactly the same.
Cool.
So you get in the TARDIS, you pilot the TARDIS for a bit. The Doctor's telling you which buttons to press. They're on a big screen. We basically set up a big screen into the sets of theirs. So Matt Smith's TARDIS, 11's, we know where that screen would be.
Yeah.
David Tennant's one, you'd have to get creative, basically. Mm-hmm. Once you're done piloting the ship, you step out the doors. But remember, the TARDIS rotates.
Yeah.
So you're no longer leaving the ride.
So
you're stepping out into a brand new world.
And is this... So just quickly staying in the TARDIS ever so quickly.
Yep.
I'm guessing it's on a gyroscope. I'm guessing it's one of those things that can move. It's like the Inception set where it will just just flow around. It will throw you a bit.
It's basically the same as Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
Millennium Falcon, right?
Yeah.
So
I just wanted to confirm that.
It will shake. Basically, you shouldn't feel the rotation happening, because it will happen when you're like juddering anyway.
Yeah.
So it will just feel like you're being thrown around.
Yeah.
Obviously not too much.
Yeah. Safety concerns.
Safety concerns. So you step out into one of, again, a multitude of locations. And this is where you're going through history, sort of trying to find out where these villains came from and how you can stop them.
Cool, okay.
Some sort of conceit like that. Gallifrey, one of the locations.
Cool.
And you see Time Lords being there, whether it be actors or whether it be videos or something. Again, it depends on the cost. I love some actors. I would love... and then the next thing that's really important is each thing is a different sort of experience. So Gallifrey, it's just a walkthrough. You just get to walk through and be in Gallifrey, which I think is very exciting.
Yeah.
But you do also visit the Battle of Canary Wharf.
Oh.
Which is an elevator drop ride.
That's
where you
cool.
go from the very top floor all the way down and up and down and up and down. And you're visiting different floors, seeing Cybermen, and then you have to duck and go down and up. You see potentially something like a Shadow Proclamation. Maybe there's some sort of ride there.
Wow.
I thought Mars, we could go for a lovely little ride to Mars, meet the Ice Warriors, and also it's sort of a toboggan water ride somehow.
Cute.
So you're like in a little log or
Yeah.
a rock, as it would probably be, and you ride around. Then you go back to the TARDIS.
Yeah.
But it's not the TARDIS you came out of.
Oh, so you get even more of an experience. That's cool.
So basically you would visit 3 different TARDISes in 3 different locations, but it's all random.
Right.
Each Doctor would have to record the start of the adventure,
Yeah.
the second bit, the third bit, and the end. So
But-
you would experience... So you'd probably go to 2 different locations and meet 3 different TARDISes.
So hang on. So is it random chance? I'm guessing there's going to be an algorithm, which means you're not going to run into the same Doctor each time.
Yeah, so it will never be the same one twice in a row.
But you could have first and third be the same.
No. So yeah,
Okay.
sorry, on your ride, because it will literally just rotate round.
Yeah.
So you'll go one. So the people, if you imagine there's 4 TARDISes.
Yeah.
So if you go into TARDIS 1, the
Yeah.
next one you'll have is TARDIS 4. The third one you'll have is TARDIS 3. It literally just...
Yeah, so they'll just kind of switch it all up again. And so that means that the Doctor will also be talking to the companions going, wait,
Who are you guys?
I haven't seen you in 600 years sort of thing, since when
Yeah.
I was the first Doctor sort of thing.
Yeah, it's jokes like that, all
Yeah.
that sort of idea. And I would really want to nail. You'd have to work out who's. So it would always be the same. If you start with the first, you will always have the 10th. You will always have the 13th.
Cool.
So you can sort of narratively determine what we have to record and write
That
to
makes
make those
sense.
sorts
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
jokes. I think it'd be fascinating to do something like that. And again, it's just more about time mechanic where you feel like, oh, it's a different Doctor. Wait, what?
Yeah. But like you could meet, so technically you could have 13 first.
Yeah.
She could,
And then-
it could be written as if she knows who you are. She was like talking to you as if you're best mates, and then you were like, "But I've never met you before." And the reason why is because you then go to, I don't know, 9 next, and and then he's talking
he's
to you as
never
if
met
it's your first time, and then you're like, "Oh, it's because she met me when it was like the Doctor met me when when they were Christopher Eccleston."
Yeah.
And so that's why they recognised me and knew me when they were 13, Jodie Whittaker. That's great. I love that.
Yes.
Carry on.
Yeah, and I love that idea of like this. Again, it's just that time mechanic, but it's so crucial to Doctor Who. I couldn't think of a way of getting it in other than you just meet lots of different Doctors,
Yeah.
and they're all meeting you for the first time, and you're meeting them, but it's obviously played different.
Like River Song sort of thing.
Yeah, like River Song, you're meeting them out of order, but sometimes you won't. And every time you visit the park, there's a chance that you meet someone else. It's not guaranteed, obviously, but there's
But
this
it
idea
means
that,
it brings you back.
yeah, there's this idea that okay, well, I can get on this ride and I'll meet someone else, or at the very least, I might meet 13 and 10 again, but this time I had 12 first, so it's a different sort of journey as opposed to if I had 10 first and then 13 and then 12. But it would be we'd determine what the probability is of getting who and how it would work. So that's Pilot the TARDIS. So each sort of location you end up in is a ride in itself, a short one, but this ride would be a really long ride where you properly feel like it plays like an episode.
So, okay.
And potentially you'd build 2 of these so you could get more people. Because this is what people would be coming for.
Yeah. So are the villains that we see in those episodes the same ones that are wandering the park? Are we going to see any different ones in the park that we don't have here?
It's less of a it's less of a these monsters are attacking now. It's basically just imagine all the monsters. They're all coming from different points, and it just so happens that in these stories you meet these ones. You meet the Ice Warriors, you meet the Daleks, you meet the Jadoon.
What I really like about it, just ever so quickly, is because it's modular.
Yeah, which is the next thing I was going to say.
You can swap out bits without swapping out the entire ride. So you could make it so that a person could go, say a person went every month for an entire year.
Yeah.
They can go and almost have the experience that all of, like, because say you were to swap something out, one thing out every month, they could go in and think, has all of this always been here and I've just not seen it?
Yes.
Or are you changing it and I'm coming often enough that I don't realise that it's changing?
The idea would be that without having to change anything, you could visit, say you're going for like a 3-day weekend, you could go each day and have a completely different experience.
Yeah.
Because there's 4 locations to visit and 4 TARDISes, but you only go to 2 locations and meet 3 Doctors.
Yeah.
And you could meet them in different orders. You could very easily, because it's just video, 9 and 10 have the same TARDIS.
I do.
So you just change the video.
Yeah.
The set doesn't even change. You just play a different video and suddenly you've got 5 Doctors in there.
Yeah.
And I think all those sorts of things, the easier you make it, the more simplistic. It's a day of recording for the Doctors that could play out in hundreds of different ways. It'd only be 5-minute, let's say, stints in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Less than. And the Doctor might not be talking to you the whole time. So I think those sorts of ideas are what... You could have companion appearances.
Yeah.
It could rather be than the Doctor telling you how to fly the TARDIS. You've got River Song in 11's TARDIS. All these sorts of things would be so easy to do. And you could make it an event. You could say, it's a River Song takeover.
Yeah.
And she's in all the TARDISes telling you how to do it. And she's just in different outfits every time.
Yeah. Missy could take over.
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely adore that, and I think that is the perfect way. As you say, So when you were talking about the Outer World, it was very unit heavy, and I was like, okay, so how are you going to do the Doctor? But having the Doctor is always a difficult circumstance because it dates it, it makes it difficult. And time is such, obviously, with the Time Lord, it is extremely important to get that experience of we're travelling in the TARDIS, and so you're in the same spot. And yes, walking through a door is not exactly going to do it, but walking through a door and having a completely different experience to the last time you walked through that door a day ago is certainly one way of doing it. I think you've captured that perfectly. The fact that this is the flagship and we've still got something else to come means I'm going to save my questions that I've got for a little bit later, but carry on.
So the last idea is sort of experimental. Okay. I say experimental. It's not a idea, but I don't know if this fits in the theme. Mm-hmm. I just have the idea and had to get it out because I think even if there's no part, I want this to exist. It's genius as far as I'm concerned of something that's I've not even seen this idea written anywhere.
Okay.
No, it can't be 18 plus. But that kind of horror. This is a scary ride. If you could make it 18 plus, I'd make it 18 plus.
Almost like a Torchwood ride.
Titled Torchwood Converted.
It's almost as if I knew what you were going to say. I didn't, but...
I know, I was about to say, how did you know what I was going to say?
Because I know you, for God's sake.
A London dungeon-style horror walkthrough of the Torchwood hub under siege.
Ooh.
In our base, one of the attractions, one of the things you can see is that Torchwood Water Tower, the Cardiff Water Tower.
Yeah.
And you go and stand, the queue goes up to it, and you stand on a platform, and you are lowered down on that. Obviously, it's much bigger and there's railings and stuff, but you are lowered down into the Torchwood hub.
Right.
And you have to build this sort of underground hub. Mm-hmm. From as you come in, you can see an overview of the hub, snippets of the path that you're going to go on, winding tunnels, dark corners, and monsters already lurking.
Cool.
Torchwood Base is under attack.
Okay.
You need to venture through the vaults to find clues to the devastation that has laid in your wake and see which creature specifically is targeting Torchwood HQ and trying to convert it into a base of operations.
So there's one thing that's trying to do that.
There's one main villain, but because of the Torchwood Vault, there's lots of other singular villains who've sort of broken out and got out.
Okay.
So lots of villains are escaping. So there's Hoiks on the run, there's Weevils on the run. I have a beautiful vision of sort of a cave thing. This is a deep dive. An Arcatinian, who you might remember as the glowy poet thing from Sarah Jane, and she's also in Torchwood.
Right.
It's got tendrils on her hair. She's like floating around. She's pink and blobby.
Right.
Creating a model of one of those just in the cave, so you just walk past it.
Right.
But she's just floating. I just thought that would be cool.
Yeah.
Just because it would glow and stuff like that. As visitors move closer, they're going to get closer to the cyber conversion chamber at the heart of the Torchwood Vault, right down the bottom.
Wow, okay.
As you get closer, there are discarded human and aliens that have been part converted. So you might see like a little part of the cyber helmet, the right angle bar, might be sticking out of the Weevil's head, and he's just lying on the floor reaching up at you, all acting. Just like the London Dungeon, you've got all these actors made up.
Yeah.
As you get closer, and this is the bit that depends if it's 18 plus or not, you can see the conversion chamber. How much you see just depends on what rating we give this ride. You either see like blood splatter and stuff, or you just see arms going. You see like all these mechanical arms going in, and you're just looking from afar. So it's almost like, say it's 4 meters in front of you, and then the conversion chamber is straight down. So you'll see arms moving atop it.
Yeah, like what we see in, like it. Yeah, the
like what you see
PG
in
is what we
Age
see
of
in
Steel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, just those sort of arms moving, and then just at the end of the ride, is you just hear this marching, stomping behind you, as you're ushered out back into and you're ushered out onto a pier, just like the other entrances to the Torchwood ride, and there's like a gift shop there probably or something like that. That's my other idea.
Right, so I think I applaud you for using the Cybermen because I think that the first introduction of them, the introduction of them in the David Tennant era,
The Rise of Cybermen Age of Steel
yeah,
is a couple of beautiful episodes.
absolutely
but are just
terrifying.
haunting.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying. Really, really was. That's the first time we saw. I can't remember what her name is. Who played Martha Jones? But she's in the Battle of Canary Wharf. Yeah, that side of it.
Yeah, she's at the end. Not in the first 2 episodes.
The Cybermen was harrowing. Okay, I have a question on geography.
Go on.
Where's Unit HQ?
Yeah, it doesn't. The geography of it doesn't quite work.
But I think you can kind of suspend your disbelief when you've got the Orient Express in the middle of the thing as well.
Yeah, it's like you said. I think the example you gave, the Wedding of River Song, sort of mishmash of time.
Yeah.
Locations have to be closer together to make them work. I just like the idea of you going down next to the water tower.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant. I think it's absolutely terrifying.
And
I love how you used it.
You can always play with perspective, so you might not be able to see the water tower from Unit HQ. You might have to walk out a bit, go round a corner past a spaceship, and then it's there. So it's sort of
out the way.
It sort of suspends that disbelief.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's brilliant. I like how you've used, and this is what I honestly think is important. So, we obviously here we have what I would consider a theme park. When I think of a theme park, I think of the likes of Drayton Manor, I think of Alton Towers, and they have different types of rides. They have the log flumes, they have the vertical drops, they have the experiences, and they have like horror rides and stuff. And I like how you've managed to very much recreate that inside of what then the other side of a theme park is with a singular experience. Okay, so I have a number of questions for you. I'm going to ask them all just because they may be one overarching answer to them and you may have actually thought it all up. So what I want to know is what villains we're seeing around the park. I want to know what... I can't help but just sort of go, okay, I want to know what the story is prior to this. I want to know where we are in the world. I want to know what's caused this. And I think, honestly, you'd be missing an opportunity to start the experience earlier than walking into the park by having that as a... Maybe even... Okay... Marketing-wise, you could have the doctor or the doctors who obviously you get for the big ride, all also filming almost like a cry for help for people to come and help them as an advertising ploy for this park, and have them using that explanation as to why it's all happening as a way to bring them into it.
Yeah.
So I need to... I think knowing why the villains are there, which villains are there, and what the overarching story is, even if it doesn't have an end, it needs to have a start and a middle.
The point of the story is it's I think if you try and write, I think I keep saying I think the problem I find with things like this where they try and write a story is you pigeonhole what's possible because you say, well, that doesn't quite make sense. I think suspension of disbelief is key, and I think if you set the idea of the greatest villains are trying to capture the Doctor again, and they've all ended up attacking this unit base to try and get the Pandorica to trap him again. That's basically the conceit.
Okay.
I think to go much further beyond that, you sort of go, well, why is the Cybermen taking over the Torchwood HQ, and why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? It's more just imagine lots of aliens invading, and it just so happens at the same time. What I think would be really, really, really cool is the idea that, okay, this is really popular. Say this is super duper popular. Okay, we're going to build Doctor Who Land in Australia, and suddenly they're attacking a unit based in Australia, but there's different attractions because, well, this one's set at the Sydney Opera House. Yeah. And suddenly they're attacking the Sydney Opera House for this reason. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And they're attacking the Empire State Building, or they're doing this, they're doing that. Obviously, we've got Wales and Torchwood, and so that's a location you could use, but you could change the settings to fit the location. And I think it's just more about again, the conceit is just aliens are attacking Earth.
Yeah.
Don't think too much about it. They're coming from all sides. Who would be there? I think you've got Daleks, Cybermen. I really have a great vision of just a Sontaran troop just marching through.
Yeah.
Ideas of who was the other people I thought of you could get in? The Silence.
I was going to say the
hiding
Silence.
away
Yeah.
in creepy corners. Weeping Angels. I think you wouldn't have anyone in them. You just have them as statues around the place.
Yeah.
But you could get like cameras pointing at, like prop cameras pointing at all
Yeah.
the Weeping Angels. And then there could be a room somewhere that you can just walk into and see, or see through a glass wall where there's just a man sitting in a chair looking at all the Weeping Angels.
Yeah.
So none of them can move,
Yeah.
even though they're on site. Just think, I've mentioned the Ice Warriors earlier. You could have who's that other thing? The Jadoon.
Yeah.
I mentioned. There's a lot. I'm trying to do this off the top of my head.
But I think your point is that you can have, as we said with the modular section of the big Doctor Who ride, is that you can swap them in and out. You can have different ones on different days. You can have different.
Yeah.
You know, say you've got a big event in Doctor Who, the series at the times, like we had the Day of the Doctor or something like that. Whatever is there at that point, you go.
Yeah.
We're gonna also have it in the in this park to link the two together, to make people feel like, oh well, I've just done the Day of Doctor, but I know I can go and experience bits of it, so I want to go do that.
Yes, that sort of idea is key.
Yeah.
And again, the same with the Torture Rover. I said the Vaults. I mentioned Weevils and Hoiks because they're sort of the scary ones. But you could have an Ice Warrior who's had his helmet taken off, tried to be converted. You could just have different monsters sort of in there. People running out, monsters running out. You can have anything that's crawly. So remember the Kill the Moon episode that everyone hates. Those little spider crawly things.
Oh yeah.
You could easily have those just crawling along the ceiling. Robotic ones.
No.
Yeah, no, gross. But it would be so easy to add just Easter eggs effectively.
Yeah.
A Pating that everyone loves. Potentially those witch creatures from the Witchfinders, or a Kablam Man, or something like that.
Yeah.
You could have a Kablam Man who delivers room service in the hotel. It could be Kablam Men.
Yeah.
You
The
could
Ood.
create...
The Ood could be the people in the hotel.
Forgot about the Ood. You could have the Ood everywhere as well. I'd love to see some alien unit soldiers, so maybe a Zygon, maybe an Ood.
Yeah. The lizard people. Can't remember what they're called.
Silurians. You could have
Silurians,
those
that's
everywhere.
cool.
But yes, those are the ideas. I think it's so important that everything is changeable, that you try and keep things as flexible as possible, because Doctor Who changes. So this hotel, making it a unique TARDIS, means that it doesn't matter. You don't have to change the corridors. You can just repaint a room.
Okay.
And then there's 5 rooms that are based around the new TARDIS.
Yeah.
As opposed to that, you've got the escape room that you can change every week if you really wanted to.
But the idea is the base structure stays the same, and you almost paint a different picture on top of it.
Yes. And I like the expansion that can happen there, knowing that the hotel just gets another floor. It's a third Doctor TARDIS or a 5th Doctor TARDIS. Those sorts of things.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Works.
I think you've done really well. I think what you've managed to encompass there. Obviously, I wasn't expecting anything different because, you do absolutely adore Doctor Who more than I think
love
I've
Doctor Who
ever
so
seen
much.
anyone.
I really want this park to exist.
And it's not, and it's not a case of. I think what you haven't done.
Yeah.
And I think this is what maybe I probably would have done if it was, say, a case of a Star Wars theme park, is you haven't just gone fan service everywhere. There's a exact reason as to why things are there. You haven't tried to include everything because you can include everything, just at different points. You've made it so that you go, I'm going to take the fundamental basis of what makes Doctor Who, and go, right, it's got to be time, it's got to be different places, and it's got to be just flexible. It's got to be able to change. And you go on, right, those 3, add a story to it, because that's also important. Then everything else just gets added onto the middle of that. You've done really well in that case. I personally, I think we've discussed it before on the podcast, where we've said, I personally haven't engaged a massive amount with Doctor Who in the recent years. But
Yeah.
this, for me, and I think this is important, I was worried coming into this whether I was even going to like this, because I was like, well, I haven't seen Doctor Who in a couple of years, and it's not really, I don't know if it's going to be for me, because is this going to be all new Doctor Who? And it doesn't. This caters, and I think you've done something that maybe even the showrunners can't do. This caters to all Doctor Who fans. If you're a fan of the classic eras, there's going to be classic era monsters, there's going to be classic era TARDISes, you're going to be able to interact with all your favourite Doctors. But also, if you're, say, Matt Smith, David Tennant era, you're going to be able to do that and live through your fantasies that you thought were never going to happen again.
Which, that's one of the other things I didn't even mention. I've got it written on my notes. Sorry, the notes I didn't make. I've got it in my head in my notes.
In your mind palace.
The
wait, that's a
idea
different show.
of the villains don't have to look like they do on television all the time.
Yeah.
So if we're going to visit the Ice Warriors in a little water toboggan thing, it could be classic looking Ice Warriors.
Yes.
You could, as far as I'm concerned, if we've got that TARDIS thing, you could have classic Doctors in there, and they could just record it now, because I don't care that they look old. Like, I don't care. It's Peter Davison doing his best Fifth Doctor. I think it's fun, and I think it's exciting, and I think the key is it's about the look rather than the story, in terms of we don't need a Journey's End ride. We don't need a Centauran Stratagem ride, or a Wedding of River Song, or a Pandorica Opens ride. It's not about going under Stonehenge. It's just about taking concepts from there, the monsters, the places, especially the locations, which
and
I
building
think are
something new.
so ingrained in people. Everyone wants to step foot in a TARDIS. Okay, now you can. Which one? All of them. Every single TARDIS you'll have an opportunity to be in a bit of. And especially just having those boxes outside. Wouldn't it be amazing if I could just go down somewhere and just take a picture with the TARDIS box? Yeah. I love it. I've always wanted to do it, but I've not had that chance, especially as an adult.
Yeah.
So just knowing that, they're all here. Oh my God, they're all everywhere.
Yeah.
And finding them, those sorts of things, I think is what genuinely excites people.
Yeah. Okay, so talk about genuinely exciting, and I kind of want to wrap it up with this.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the chance now.
Okay.
To put one, and I'm going to do it too, one Easter egg. That you go, this one's going to be difficult to find.
Oh, God.
But I want it there because it's going to be the most fan servicey for me thing that I want in there. That I go, this is what I've seen, this is something I want, and I want to be able to find it and just have that moment of, oh my God. Do you want me to go first while you're thinking of yours?
Yes, please. I've got no idea what I'm going to do.
So we're talking about unit headquarters here.
Yeah.
There's obviously going to be a few buildings where you're going to have to go through, and it's unit headquarters.
Yeah.
I want, and in a corridor somewhere that's quite hard to reach. It's kind of away from things. It's it's no rides near it or anything like that. You're only doing it if you're only going through it if you really just want to explore and wander. You go past what you see in a lot of office buildings, a load of portraits of the sort of the founders and stuff like that. And so you see the Brigadier, you see Osgood, and then right at the end, you see the founder of UNIT.
Yeah.
And it just says underneath, the caretaker.
Yeah.
No, they're not the caretaker, sorry, the curator. And all you see is this, what you think is a picture of Tom Baker, obviously being quite old, of him as the curator. And you think it's a picture until suddenly you have to be staring at it because it's at a random chance, and you have to be staring at it for a while, and it just goes...
Just winks. Oh, that would be real cool. That's dumb, but very,
That's
very cool.
my... Okay, random, in the middle of nowhere. You have to really look to find it, and it's a random chance. That's what I want.
So I to build on this, because that's actually really good. What if there's just portraits and pictures around, but the Doctor that's in the pictures, so say it's pictures like the Doctor being captured throughout history.
Yeah.
It's animated, so it actually changes throughout the day. So that you go to it at 5 p.m. and it's the 9th Doctor. You go to it at 7 p.m. It's now the 3rd Doctor.
Yeah.
And it's just Photoshop, actually good Photoshops. Whoever keeps Photoshopping things, by Jove, can someone just learn how to use Photoshop in all television? Because every time a person is photoshopped into something, it looks awful. Like, there are people all over the interwebs doing better Photoshop than they pay for on television. It drives me insane. It drives me absolutely insane. That's about rant over. So the Easter egg.
Mm-hmm.
So a similar note. I would find a corner of a crev where I could put a safe.
Okay.
And the safe door would be open, and it would be a little screen of K9 with a black hole.
Aww.
From Sarah Jane, and he'd just be sat there in the little screen. And you just have to find him. It would not be obvious, but I just love K9 so much.
Yeah.
Please bring K9 back. And I wanted to get him in this park somewhere, but again, talking about that fan service, it just doesn't fit. So I'm not just going to force him in.
Yeah, because one of the questions I was going to ask is Mr. Smith somewhere there?
Again, it's like one of those things. It's like, where? Unless I thought, no, because he has to be in the Bannerman attic, Bannerman Road attic. Oh, you could put K9 in one of the TARDISes, because he's just an animatronic, isn't he? Yeah. He could be in like one of the Flight of the TARDISes with like David Tennant or something. That would be cool.
Anywho,
I don't know.
I think you've done an incredible job. I think this is 100% something that we need. We need in our lives. I think honestly.
At BBC, give me money.
Well, the elevator's about to open now. They've managed to get us out. We're going to go pitch it to the BBC now, and I think it's a surefire win. So well done.
What I want to know, if you want this to exist, share it, talk about it. I want you to tell me what other ideas you would add to a Doctor Who theme park.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to know what theme park rides you would have. I want to know which Doctors you'd have appear. What kind of characters would be walking around? Would everyone be dressed as unit soldiers in berets, or would they all be ood? The important question we've been faced with today.
Yeah. So, no, last question. What are you calling the entire thing?
I like the idea of... So it can't be Doctor Who Land. I like the idea of calling it Doctor Who Time Shift.
Cool. That's fine. Cool.
I really like the name Time Shift TARDIS.
Yeah, I like it.
So, okay. Thank you very much for tuning in to Stuck in the Elevator podcast. That is our pitch for a Doctor Who theme park titled Doctor Who Time Shift. Yeah. We will see you next time on the Two Dudes Movie Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the different places for more, and please let us know what you think, because we want to hear your ideas next.
Yeah. See you soon, guys.